There was one really difficult period, I think, when you checked yourself into the Maudsley Hospital. That was in 1990. Why did you do that?
Well, to go back slightly by a month, December 1989, they were doing a version of Whose Line. I was doing Whose Line Is It Anyway at the time. This was before Have I Started. And we were going to Kenya, myself and my then girlfriend Julie, and I started taking the anti-malarial pills. And there was something very odd that night with the recording. It was I didn't really feel comfortable doing what I was doing. And at the end of the programme, they wanted to just get a shot of us all sitting in the chairs, and there'd be a big crane come in and just get a swooping shot of all the panellists sitting there. And I couldn't sit in the chair. I couldn't stay in the chair. And I got out of the chair and I walked in the corridor and I sort of felt better. Then I came to sit in the chair again. I couldn't sit in this chair. So in the end, I mean, if it's ever on YouTube or whatever, if you see a sweeping shot of the panellists, the person wearing my jacket is the floor manager. It isn't me. And I didn't, and I took my shoes and socks off and I was walking around and I felt okay in the green room, but it was very peculiar. Anyway, we go on holiday and I had a couple of incidents on holiday where I wasn't quite sure what was going on. I was sort of hallucinating a bit and being paranoid about what people were saying. Come back out of that, come back home. I was taking two drugs. I was taking a daily anti-malarial drug and there was a weekly one. The daily one was fine. It was the weekly one that was called Lariam or something. It's been mentioned several times since. There are severe side effects with people who get the side effects. So essentially, every Friday, I was getting really paranoid about stuff. I thought I was being spied on by some builders over the road or on the roof. I thought they were on that roof to be looking at me. I thought that there was a building firm just behind where we lived in Streatham at that time. It was only a tiny little building firm, but I got taken into the Maudsley Hospital. My girlfriend Julie and my friend John were very concerned about how I was. And when I got to the Maudsley Hospital, the hospital over the road had scaffolding from the same building firm that was behind my house. With tiny little building firm. So it's one of those coincidences which then sort of made me think, oh God, it's right, I am being spied on. So my TV series, which I'd written with John, was postponed for a year. I was in the Maudsley for 10 days. Then they said, you seem to be okay. They let me go on a Wednesday. Of course, Friday, I'm still taking the weekly pill because you're meant to take it 6 weeks after you come back from holiday. And nobody had identified that this was the problem. So again, I sort of go back into the Maudsley the second time. And this time, okay, well, we thought you were okay, but now you're in for, an indefinite period. We don't know how long you're going to be here for. It turned out to be 6 weeks. About 2 or 3 days into going back in again, you give are you on any medication? So you give them the pills that are dispensary there. So Saturday morning, they instead of giving me the daily pill, they gave me the weekly pill plus another weekly pill. So I had 2 of those weekly pills and I really felt like I was going to either jump out the window or strangle somebody and I wouldn't be able to stop myself. And I said this to them and they looked quickly and realised they'd given me 2 of these weekly pills at the same time, then gave me a sedative of some kind, very powerful sedative, which just knocked everything down and made everything sort of like comfortable and cosy and soft and warm. And the psychiatrist who was seeing me checked up on Monday and said, I think it must be this weekly pill that's doing this to you. So he stopped that. But of course, I was still in the Maudsley Hospital, so that I had to sort of play by the rules of being in the Maudsley Hospital so that they would eventually say, okay, you can go. It's no good saying, I shouldn't be here, because everybody says I shouldn't be here. That's a cliche. Everybody that goes in says, I shouldn't be here, I'm all right, I'm fine, and all that sort of thing. So you would... there was a class, an improvisation class. I thought I'd go along to that, and that was quite... this is where humour really helps. It was quite funny because it was the other 2 people in the class. The teacher said, the instructor said, this is a trust exercise, she said. I want you to sort of stand there, she said to me, and I want you just to fall backwards and trust that the 2 other people are going to catch you. Now, the other 2 people was a really anorexic-looking sort of 18-year-old girl and a really old woman who was quite frail. And I thought, I'm sorry, I know I'm meant to trust that they're going to catch me, but I don't think they will. And it's sort of there were incidents that are funny now, but were disturbing at the time. And it's just, for example, you get those little traffic cones you get when people are cleaning floors, and it says wet floor or something on it. This word had the word caution on it. So I'm in the kitchen. There's a cleaner sort of cleaning the floor, and I'm talking to somebody else, one of the other patients, over a cup of tea, and she suddenly turns this thing around, and I see the word caution written on it. Now, she's only just turned it around because she's moving it from there to get under the sink to clean. But I've seen, why have I got to be cautious now? What's going on? So you're not thinking caution wet floor. If it said caution wet floor, I'd have been all right. It just said caution. So you get, all right, what's happening? I think we better come out of here. There was a payphone on the wall. This is before mobile phones. There's a payphone on the wall in the corridor. And you think, okay, I'll make a phone call. Oh, no, I'm not going to make a phone call. That phone will be bugged. They'll be listening in on that. I'm not going to make that phone call. And after a couple of days, probably as I get further away from the weekly pill, maybe like Tuesday, or we're getting away from the Friday, I think, of course, it's not bugged. They're not going to, one thing they do is they're running a hospital. They're not going to be bugging phones. They're busy enough as it is. So I go towards the phone, another patient comes out, don't touch that phone, it's bugged. Okay. So,
are you making that up?
No, it's true. I promise you, that is totally true. That is totally true. Absolutely, it's not an easy place to recover because everybody has their sort of things going on, But there was one good story that came out of it that was unexpected, and because what was happening was while I was in the Maudsley Hospital, Whose Line Is It Anyway was going out on a Friday night on Channel 4, and some of the patients were watching it, but I'm in the Maudsley Hospital. So one morning, Saturday morning, I'm queuing up for breakfast, and breakfast is in the form of brown flakes in a cardboard bowl with a plastic knife and fork, or a hard-boiled egg which has been peeled, so there's no weapon potentiality. And this boy, I said this boy is about 19 years old. He sees me standing in front of him, and the eyes nearly pop out of his head, and he goes, "Are you Paul Merton?" And I sort of said, Yeah, I am. I'm just keeping it a bit quiet though. Oh, right, yeah. Now, years later, I'm doing a book signing somewhere near the Maudsley Hospital, and a woman comes up to me and she says, I just want to tell you, she said, I was a nurse in the Maudsley Hospital, and there was one of my patients was a boy called John. And when he spoke to you in the breakfast queue, I don't suppose you remember. I said, no, I remember exactly. And she said it really helped him because he realised that mental illness can happen to anybody. And although I don't think of myself as being, I was mentally ill, but I knew I knew the reason why. And she said it really helped his recovery because one of the things that can bedevil people who have suffered some kind of mental illness is a sense of shame. We don't necessarily feel shame if we fracture our wrist, but if there's something here that's not working properly with something that can stunt our recovery. But she said it really helped him because you see, even him, a man on television, has this. So so there was an upside to that.